thank God for being here. I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here.
Me and the devil had a tussle.
Hey! Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus. I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here.
Me and the devil had a tussle.
Hey! Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus. I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here.
Beep, beep, toot, toot. Hey, good people, it's your Alabama church girl here. And I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here. I thank God for being here. And first, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. To all the leaders, saints, and friends, welcome, welcome, welcome on in. And I thank God that you're here too. I really, really do. I know that it's late in the evening. It's okay. If you're in Alabama or the Southeast, you know it's storming as well. So I had to wait till the internet was acting a little cooperative with me. So here I am. And what are we talking about this evening? We're talking about cultivating community. And I just want to talk about this smear campaign that was mentioned on Club Shay Shay. The interview that has rocked the world. I think the interview sits at 30 million views right now. And there's so many bits and pieces of that interview that we can take away and dissect and write dissertations on. But this is a little piece that I wanted to discuss this evening. Black people, my Black community. When will we realize that there's a wizard behind the curtain? Okay, my sister and I went to see the Wiz, the stage play, The Wiz, about a month ago in Atlanta. I know that songwriter Candy Burris and her husband Todd Tucker are producing the play on Broadway. I think it's still going on at this time. But they brought the show, they toured the show, and we caught the tour in Atlanta at the Fox Theater. And of course, we know that The Wiz is based off of the play as well as the movie, The Wizard of Oz. Sorry. The movie, The Wizard of Oz. So, anywho, we all know the story. Dorothy's trying to find her way home, and along her way, she finds some friends that have had some tumultuous activities in their life, and they all are told that they have to go to find the wizard in order to correct the issues in their life. Well, along the journey, they run into witches. They run into little people. They run into a whole lot. But when they finally find the wizard, the one that's supposed to correct all the woes in their life, they realize that this is just a little man that's no different from us. And we have given him all this authority and all this power that we really neglected to understand that we own within ourselves. We already had the power to change our own lives and make our own way. And I brought that up because it is a direct analogy to something that Katt Williams said on the interview with Shannon Sharpe. He explained that he has had to stand on his standards in his career. Now, I'm old enough to remember Def Comedy Jam. I'm old enough to remember all these comedy shows back in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, going into the 2000s. I'm old enough to remember, hey, Katt Williams was that dude. He hits the stage and you gonna bust your gut. So I remember the build up to this interview, honestly. And I also am old enough to remember along the way how people have slandered his name, basically. And honestly, the negative things that have been said about Katt Williams, they have been said in such a pronounced way that I honestly had started to believe all of the negativity. And it's been said for so long, and he's been quiet about it for so long that I just thought, hey, it must be true. He ain't said that he has not come back to negate it, so it must be true, right? So, anywho, what has been said? Well, over the years, we have heard from many people that hey, Katt Williams' career fell off because he's using substances, illegal abusive substances that harm your body. It's been said that he's been in prison. It's been said that the man is crazy. He's lost his mind. And as I sat there and listened to this man on that interview, 2 hours, 46 minutes, 5 seconds, honestly giving so much context to his statements. This man is not crazy. There's no way. Listening to him, I was trying to see, if there is any sign of substance abuse. Was he sweating? Was he speaking erratically? And I have heard some critics say, well, he was speaking really fast and his ideas just coming one after the other. Well, I have to think about it. If I get mad enough, I'm gonna I'm gonna talk real fast. I'm gonna get my point out, and yes, I'm gonna go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, because I'm pissed off. Because I'm that type of girl. I don't bother nobody unless you bother me. And when you bother me, it's on. It's game on, and I'm not gonna let up. So I'm gonna keep punching with everything I got to say, because you're gonna get all my wrath. So that's the way I perceived his commentary with Uncle Shannon. So I'm watching and I'm trying to decipher, is there any sort of mental decline that would lead me to believe that this man has had some type of illegal substances or some type of substance abuse? And I just didn't see it. Now, did he give us some exaggerations? I do believe so. Did he give us some comedic relief within the interview? I do believe so. But at the same time, he gave us a lot of nuggets, truthful nuggets for us to chew on. Now let's go break these things down. And so what am I focusing on in cultivating community? Well, there are two other comics that I want to mention in this conversation tonight: Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart. Katt Williams explained the business of Hollywood that takes place behind the scenes, the man behind the curtain, that wizard behind the curtain. He explained how there are meetings that happen and offers that are placed on the table. And if you're willing, in his situation, he explained that he had to make sure that he stood on his standards. He explained that he had a commitment to himself and to his morals, that he would be in a part of this industry and would make sure to protect his virgin hole, which is on the other side, on the other end, and to make sure he never put his mouth on anybody's genitalia, male genitalia. So, which, hey, I think that's a respectable standard to uphold. He did not want to put on women's clothing either, wear a dress. He didn't feel that he had to wear a dress in order to be funny, that's not funny. So I I can respect that as well. So, with that being stated, he explained that he's had to turn down millions of dollars because he was sticking to his standard. He was steadfast on his square. We laughed and we joked about T.I.'s son talking about he was standing on business, but took it very serious when Katt said he was standing on his standard, and I respect that. I can respect that. But it sounded so eerily similar to Dave Chappelle giving us this a very similar story that whenever he went out, he was in a movie with Martin Lawrence, and then he went into his dressing room and saw a dress there. And the producer tried to sway him in, hey, this next scene, we're gonna have you come out as dressed as a prostitute. And he's like, man, I ain't putting on no dress. And he had a $50 million contract on the line, but he was standing on his standard. I'm not putting on a dress. After that, do y'all remember what happened? Well, let me let Dave tell you in his own words, because he went on to Oprah to give the synopsis of what happened to him. That it wasn't just, I can just walk away like Katt, but he explained what happened behind the scenes. I don't know if you remember, it was all over the news. It was reports everywhere that Dave Chappelle lost his mind. He went to Africa. He's strung out on drugs. That's why he walked away from 50 million. He couldn't take the contract. Y'all remember that? But think about, there's a wizard behind the curtain. It's just a man, just a plain Jane little old man. But there was a wizard behind the curtain. So let me let Dave tell you in his own words.
I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, all these brothers gotta wear a dress. That's happened to me. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer. I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here. They come in. The writer comes in. I think he's the writer. He's like, Dave, listen, we got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail. So he disguises you as a prostitute. And he put this dress on. And, what? A prostitute? No, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with it? I mean, it's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it. So, well, if all the greats have done it, it's kind of hacky, right? You're right. So why don't we just not do it? Because I don't feel comfortable wearing a dress. Oh, come on, Dave. Listen, we got it all set up. We're supposed to shoot. Every minute you waste costs this much money. You know, the pressure comes in. He said, I'm not wearing no dress, man. I'm funnier than a dress. Just give me something funny to say. I don't need to wear no dress to be funny. What am I, Milton Berle? You know, we're going like this. And then finally he's like, and he leaves. And then, like, the director comes, Dave, it really would be great if you wear the dress. What is wrong? What is this, Brokeback Mountain in here? So then, wear the dress. I don't want to wear the dress. I want to wear this dress. You know what I mean? This is, oh, gosh, this guy's so difficult. They leave. Now the producers comes, come on, David, would be so great. I mean, and then I started thinking about it. All the comics that I've seen, man, you know, strong brothers, why they be putting us in these dresses? But the minute it was clear, I was adamant, I'm not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing the dress. All right, fine. Think of something else. Guy comes back 10 minutes later, the whole new scene. Hot damn, how did you write the scene so fast? You know, it's like, so you gotta take.
Are we seeing eye to eye here? So Dave Chappelle told us years ago, in his own words, his own story, his own experience, something very similar to what Katt explained. Dave has not been the only person, but he has a lot of clout and notoriety in the comedic world, similar to Katt Williams. But I'm just asking Black people, Black community, those of us who are striving to achieve and excel and exceed, do we not have a code of ethics and a code of conduct when it comes to our corporate worlds? It could be, I mean, we all work in different facets of business. Their business happens to be entertainment and Hollywood business. But everywhere we go, in whatever position, whatever job you're working on, there is, you can point out those within our community with our complexions and skin tones and ethnicity who don't work and operate on the same code of ethics and code of conduct as you do. And I think that's where the tension has come between Katt and these other comedians that he called out. That, hey man, I live by a different moral code. I stand on a code of ethics that I thought our whole community stands on, but clearly you don't. I'm not willing to do the things that you're willing to do just to get to the money. That green curtain, there's a wizard behind that green curtain. And I, as the Alabama church girl, want to remind all of us that the love of money is the root of all evil. So the more you love it, you hold on to it, you clinging to it, you're trying to get to it, you're going to run into some evil along that journey. So I'm just asking, what is it? What code of ethics are we going to work by and operate on? Because I feel like the wizard behind the curtain is bringing more division amongst the community, because as long as we fighting each other to get to the wizard, we're never going to be a collective that can fight against the woes of the wizard. If you understand what I'm saying, read between my lines. There is a wizard behind the curtain. I've dropped the link in the chat if you desire to come up and give your opinion on this topic. There's a wizard behind the curtain that is really causing a lot of division and destruction amongst us, because we have not decided if there's one code of ethics that we're going to live by. Our community has to come together and come to an agreement. Hey, this is what we stand for. Don't ask us to do these things, because we're just not going to do them. Our community, I listened to Ricky Smiley's rebuttal to Katt, and I kind of felt sorry for him. I really did, because it almost sounded like he was going to break down crying, because he was saying, I put on a dress because I was trying to feed my family. Yeah. And because you did it, it's expected that I should too. And I don't feel like I have to do that to feed my family. Understand the nobleness and you wanting to feed your family, but what are we willing to give up? How far are we gonna go? And if you're willing to do one thing, what is the one thing that you won't do? What are the standards that you won't violate? These are just questions. And I'm just asking my Black community, what decision are we going to come to? How are we going to handle these situations? Because they always come up. Because, those supervisors know who is going to be petty enough to rat out the next one for a little bit of pension, or a little bit of promotion, or a little bit of advance on, or a little bit of favor, or a day off. I'll tell you anything. I'll say whatever about so and so. I don't care. I'm just trying to get to the bag. Is that really getting to the bag? Because what I also heard Katt explain is that it seemed as though he was on the bottom, but what he understood was business. Business is, if I own my own, then no one has control over me. I don't have to face those decisions. I don't have to run into a decision of, would you be willing to do this? Because we want you to. If I get off the machine and I had to put my own investment in. They say, I think he said he had $25,000 to his name, and he spent 20,000 of those 25 in order to produce his own show, go on the road, and do his own tour. Understood. That's how I think Tyler Perry also explained, hey, I built my own table. He took $12,000 he had saved and started doing his own shows. Commendable. So we learned in this interview that Katt has not been out here struggling. He been out here, doing the hard work and due diligence to get to his bag without compromising his morals. So what, Black people, my Black community, what are the morals that we're willing to compromise in order to get to the bag? Is the bag that important? Are we that desperate and that destitute that we'll give up and do anything and everything to get to the bag? Is that what it takes for us to get to the bag? These are just questions. I'm just looking for answers, because there is a wizard that will go behind to smear the names of those who won't compromise their morals. So how does Kevin Hart come into the conversation? Well, let's go here. Also, I told you I'm old enough to remember a lot of these pieces along the last 25 years of these comedians. So I can recall learning of Kevin Hart just out of the blue, honestly. And I'm here on the East Coast, and he did come out of the blue. I remember his first produced stand-up comedy show was really, really good. It was. I enjoyed it, but I had never heard of this guy, going on tour and doing shows or whatever. So to me, he wasn't as popular as I thought, some of these other comedians are. Now I can remember Steve Harvey touring up more than I ever remember Kevin Hart did. Hey, I'm a mature girl. I'm a woman of a particular age, so maybe my memory doesn't serve me properly when it comes to Kevin, but hey, that's my experience. But with that being stated, Katt Williams, in his interview with Shannon Sharpe, made the statements that Kevin just came out of nowhere on the West Coast. And he came to the West Coast with deals already in his hand for movie deals, sitcom deals, that sort of thing already. And he alluded to maybe there was some compromising of morals in order to get those deals. That he was an industry plant is the word that he used. He said, hey, do we not understand the definition of what a plant is? And so I had to go and ask. Hey, I had to think about it. Like, yeah, I do recall he kind of blew up out of nowhere. He's funny, but he ain't that funny to me. And after that first special, he hasn't been as funny to me. As far as his movies and TV shows, I don't even want to see it. It's not that cute to me. Especially, I think he did the House Husbands, the Real House Husbands, and that was terrible to me. And that's when I was like, nah, I don't really like this guy. But with that being stated, I saw a few years back Kevin Hart go on to the Breakfast Club, and he spoke on Katt Williams. He stated that Katt was supposed to be the one getting all these movie deals and all these TV shows that he was doing. He was supposed to be the one. He was the guy that was pinned and picked out to get all these deals. But Katt messed it up. How did Katt make? Charlamagne said, well, how did he do that? And Kevin Hart said out of his own mouth, he chose drugs. Now, I hope that does not come back to bite him, because that sounded really damaging and slanderous. I pray to God, like I said, that it doesn't come back to bite Kevin, but he did say it. If you don't believe me, let's go over here and take a look.
Frustration with Katt Williams comes from You keep pointing at Hollywood. Hollywood this, the white man, this, and this. When do you take responsibility for your actions? You had the shot.
Katt was in that position at one point.
You were the guy.
Yeah.
You were set up to be the star. You didn't show up to work. You fucked off promo shoots. You fucked off your promo fucking trips that they had set up for you. You became a risk to the studios, which is why the studios stopped fucking with you.
Why was he a risk?
He chose drugs.
Oh, okay.
Take responsibility for what you chose and say, you know what? I got to fix me, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to stand up for comedy. So when you say Tiffany Haddish doesn't deserve or isn't really a comedian and these other women have worked hard, which they have. Shouts out to Melanie Camacho. Shouts out to Lunel. Shouts out to Leslie Jones, who are all underneath the umbrella of Katt Williams. Katt Williams, have you ever used your platform to fucking bring the people that were under you up? You haven't. So because you haven't, don't shit on those that now are. I've used my platform and I brought my guys and girls up. The brand of Kevin Hart is a brand that's expanded so fucking far, whether you like me or not. My presence in comedy will forever be felt because I'm a fucking boss. I sit on the top of it, and the opportunities I'm giving are the ones that I'm creating. So take responsibility for what you did. You fuck you. Nobody else did.
So he said it. He said it out of his own mouth. But I wonder, was he he is allegedly industry plant. So was he speaking words that were fed to him by the wizard behind the curtain? Because clearly he already had a narrative built up about Katt Williams that Katt says, no, that's not what happened. How it happened was I did not want to do these things. So things were said, other things were said about me, derogatory things were said about me. Now, this is sounding really familiar to me because I remember Dave Chappelle saying the same things. Let's listen to Dave.
It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay.
When
you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see it before. Look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through, and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time of their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress.
Deliberately put through stress so that we can have reason to say that you are crazy, that you have been stressed out. Beep, beep, toot, toot. Hey, friend. Uncle DC. Celebrity in the house, guys. Celebrity in the house. Give it up for Uncle DC. Yes. Dietrich says, oh, goodness, Kevin. He was upset. He was. But what reason did he have to be upset? What reason? What was the reason in my Cardi B voice? Yeah. What was the reason for you to go in so hard on your brother, your fellow comedic brother? What was the reason? I don't understand why he took it upon himself to put that type of narrative out on The Breakfast Club, which is known as the world's most dangerous morning show. The Breakfast Club, which it's aired in, I think, over 90 media markets. The Breakfast Club that just about every person who is Black tunes into to hear. Every person who's of color tunes into The Breakfast Club, and you put that information, that message out in all these people's ears and on those people's mind. I told you it was effective. The wheel that was turning behind the scene was very effective in making people believe that this man is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He's been in prison for so long. He's on drugs. Because I personally, like I said, I have witnessed his career, and I did begin to believe this man was all the things that they said. And I just want to ask my Black community, what is our code of ethics? What's going too far? How is it that when is it that we will say, no, I'm not going to do that? No. And we stick together. The togetherness is the cultivating of the community. Because if all the Black men, because I've gone through and I've seen all the pictures of all these Black comedians that they, have named that have been put in dresses, and have done things, or allegedly done some things, some strange things to get some change in their pocket. I'm watching, I'm hearing all the stories and all the things. But when is it that we're going to stand up, Black people, Black community, and say, no, we're not doing that? All together, one band, one sound, stand together and say, no, we're not doing that. And when is it that we reject the smear campaign about our brothers and sisters instead of going back to repeat those things? Because even if it was true, Kevin, why would you go and say that? Why would you go and say that on radio? Would you do that to a Kevin Spacey? Would you do that to someone else that's not your brother? You wouldn't, even if it was true. You're not going on nationally syndicated radio show like The Breakfast Club and spraying out Brad Pitt and all his business and the bad business that it is. You're not going to do that. Why do we do that to each other? We're being used as pawns. And I don't care. They say Kevin is worth $28 million, but is that $28 million worth it to basically crap on your brothers and sisters? I have a code of ethics, personal code of ethics, that just would not allow me to do that. I'm asking you, what is our collective code of ethics? What is our collective code of conduct? How can we cultivate this community in the same direction? I just want to, these are just questions. And let me show you. Dave goes on to give more detail of how bad it got for him.
They're trying to convince me I'm insane. They were trying to get me to take psychotic medication. Yeah. Like I'm sitting around, I was stressed out, but the people that were telling me I was insane, I believe that they knew what was going on. So this was troublesome.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not taking this medicine, man, because I know these people be trying to control you or maybe discredit you. I was afraid,
But you were stressed out. That's why.
There's no question. But it's very stressful for someone to constantly walk behind you and say, you're insane. Oh, hey, how about this? I showed up to work the first week, and where my office used to be, they built a wall there.
Why?
I didn't know why. But it came out later that they were like, well, they said you wanted it. I don't want to be walled up at the office. I like hanging out and talking.
Okay, so you got up and you walked out and nobody knew where you were going. Did your family know?
I called my brother.
Yeah.
Me and my brother, real cool. I called him up, was like, I'm going to Africa. He's like, cool, man.
Question. Who do you think is the they that he's speaking of? Is it the same they that Katt was speaking of? Is it the they that will ask another man to perform fellatio for a contract? Is it the they that possibly wanted to pop Katt's virgin hole? Who do you think he was speaking of? The smear campaign that happens behind, and we've all experienced it. I know. Listen, I know not to that degree, but I know that I've experienced it too. Where those in positions of power will get into the ear of the Black employees and start causing division, start causing problems. And we allow it. We participate in it against one another. And if we never participated, guess what? They can't play the game. What is our code of ethics? Brother said, wow. Exactly. I know you're saying wow because of how extreme it sounded. Dave Chappelle's testimony sounded. But brother, you know what though? It's not surprising at all because we all know it happens. We all know it happens on our little bit jobs, making our little bitty bags. It happens. And we as a people, as a collective, have to come to a place to say, no, we're not doing that. If nothing else, I'm not going to cross my morals. I'm not going to bend my morals or my back to make you happy. No. Not going to do it. When do we understand? When do we begin to understand that, honestly, our people set tone for culture of the whole America? We are culture. We are American culture. Without us, what is there? When do we understand the power within our own community? If we begin to understand the power within our community, then it should compel us to definitely stand together in our own power, stand in our power together to evoke change. If we respect one another, then others will begin to respect us as well. But when we're quick to denigrate the next person, then yes, so are the others. I'm sure that when you began as a child to go to school with your siblings, your parents always told you to stand up for your sibling. Don't ever let nobody talk about your brother. Don't ever let nobody talk about your sister. If they talk about one, they got to deal with the other. That's the same way we should be as a community. I'm not saying to hate, mistreat, or abuse anybody. But what I am asking is, my Black community, when are we going to get together on the same page with the same code of ethics? Uncle DC says there's only 8 Black actors that get paid equivalent to white actors: Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, Denzel Washington, Samuel Jackson, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, and Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. And then even on that list, there's been questions of compromise within that list. So does it take us having to compromise ourselves in order to be paid equivalent? And is the pay really worth it to be paid equivalent? And not to mention the fact that, does that equivalent pay affect our community? Or is it just an individual that's affected positively by that equivalent pay? Because a compromise affects the whole community. When we compromise our morals and our values, it affects the whole community, because when one is willing to compromise, everybody else is expected to compromise. Total line. And if you don't, then you're going to be ostracized. Ask me how I know, and I'll tell you so. I used to be that girl. I ain't doing it. And we'll sit there and tell HR, listen, I ain't got to be here. When I feel uncomfortable, I get gone. Because I understand the talents, the gifts and the talents that God has blessed me with. And I'm a hustler. So I ain't got to be here. But everybody, I understand that everybody doesn't operate in that power. But, I'm looking for the greater good to cultivate community. That's all. That's all. I'm looking for the greater good. where our community is strong. We stand strong together. And like I said, it's not to hurt or harm anyone else, but it's to help my community. Because the skin I'm in is my experience. I want us to be the best. My descendants are going to look like the skin that I'm in. My legacy is like the skin that I'm in. So I want it to be as good as it can get. And right now, I just don't think that we're standing in our power. We're not. I don't think that we have taken the time to really understand what our power is. That when we compromise ourselves, we honestly weaken our community. So these are just questions. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming over here. If you wanted to add anything, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Like I said, I did drop the link if you wanted to come up and speak your opinion on the chat. But if not, you don't have to. Please don't feel obligated to. But I know it's late and I'm not going to hold you long. It's storming outside. So some of us are not going to work tomorrow because of inclement weather. So I felt like, okay, it'd be all right to come over here late because it was storming a bit earlier and the internet was not performing properly. Anywho, these are questions. These are my concerns. When do we understand that we should not participate in the smear campaign that will denigrate our brothers and sisters for the sake of a bag? I'm not going to do that. Even if I wasn't the chosen one, I'm just not going to do that. Not going to participate in that. Clearly, multiple people are telling us the testimony out of Hollywood, but we can also see that type of going on and behavior in our own lives. You can work in the hospital, you can work in the school system, you can work at the factory. You see it happening. I was working on a corporate position and I experienced that. We see it happening. So when do we take the power back from the wizard behind the curtain and really begin to walk in and stand in our own power and understand what our own code of ethics is as a community? These are just questions. If you have not already, would you please go on over to YouTube, find The Alabama Church Girl, all together, no spaces, and like and subscribe to the video. Like and subscribe to the channel. We're growing by leaps and bounds right now. I'm so grateful for our new subscribers on YouTube. But I also have a lot of conversations. Like I said, there's a bunch of bits and nuggets that we can pull from this interview with Katt Williams and Shannon Sharp on last week. Well, just a few days ago. It's sitting at 30 million views, y'all. If you hadn't seen it, what are you waiting on? Where you been? You been hibernating or something. But anywho, go on over and check that out. Also, check out the 2 videos that I've linked in the comments that show the full interview with Oprah and Dave Chappelle, and also the interview with Kevin Hart on The Breakfast Club. Don't be that guy. Please don't be that guy that will tear down your brother and sister for the sake of I'm getting to a bag. Now I get to be a boss. Please don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Let's all come to that place where, hey, I'm standing on my standards. And my standards doesn't let me tear my sister and my brother down. Anywho, I could go on and on my soapbox, but I'm going to get off of it so we can get some rest on this evening. My poppy's home, so let me get to my poppy. All right, I love you guys. Until we meet again, love God, love your families. Mwah. Bye.